Welcome to CEO's Insights. I'm Rabin Anand, and today I'm meeting with Niranjan Paul, founder of ConsonantOne. ConsonantOne services the key requirement of any business, which is people. The service spectrum is across manufacturing and service industries, with a forte in creative marketing, automobile, and technology. With almost a decade and a half of experience, John believes that traditional recruitment processes aren't much efficient when hiring or recruiting people. Passing the mic to John, who will give us more on his insights.
Okay, thanks for that, Rabin. So yeah, I've got about 15 years of experience in total in HR. I've been on the agency side and led my own corporate HR teams, and I just thought, it's time to go out and explore what we can do as an individual unit and external unit as such. So that's where we are. This company is 2 years old. We've got a team of 6 people so far, specialized in recruitment for again tech hiring, marketing, a lot of creative hiring, and we also work in very you know uh, sectors which aren't as
Niche
appraised
sectors?
as
Yeah.
niche sectors like agricultural
Oh, that's
companies.
good.
So there's a lot of companies that do contract farming and all.
Yeah, yeah.
So a lot of these contract farming produce gets exported
Okay.
in either a pre-processed format or
Hmm.
some type of unperishable format. So we do a lot of work for them as well. So this is talent that's not readily available online.
Right.
So you really have to know who you talk to, what alumni work in that field, and then
Got
goes
it.
on
Yeah.
there.
So first it was a bit of networking.
Yeah, it's 100% networking, man, everywhere,
Okay.
across the board. It's not just about resumes and LinkedIn profiles and portfolios. You need to really understand what the other
Right.
person does before you
Okay.
can place them or present them in front of a customer.
Yeah.
That's the
Fair
way it
enough.
is.
What inspired you to become an entrepreneur?
So multiple reasons, Rabin. So I've always been very creative. Like
Yeah.
when you look at HR as a benchmark, I've always stuck out in a lot of places. I ask a lot of questions,
Okay.
and so in this side of my professional career, I've completely kind of capitalized on the creative parts, all right, which I cannot necessarily do when I'm sitting inside a corporate brand.
Right.
So being dissociated from a corporate brand gives us the freedom, gives us the ability to really reach out to people and really have very what do you call, very day
Personal
to day,
connections with them.
not just personal connection but very easy conversations, I would say.
Okay.
I can completely drop the jargon,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
and make really relate to the person on the other side. So that's one of the primary reasons.
All right. In this current VUCA market, do you
Mhm.
recommend people to get into entrepreneurship?
All right, so that's a good question. I'm going to take this in two parts.
Okay.
All right. So the first thing is, when you look at entrepreneurship, you're essentially setting up an enterprise,
Yes.
or I would even break it down further and say you're setting up a financial cycle.
Hmm.
All right. So this financial cycle is of two types.
Yeah.
One, you have immediate cash flow. The next one you've got as your operational runway.
Hmm.
All right. And this is where the difference happens when you see all these SaaS startups and all. Startups that get funded have a very large operational runway. Say
Okay.
a $10 million grant or a $10 million
Yeah.
investment from a VC. They've got enough runway that their fundamentals are taken care of. Say
Okay.
the office premises, uh, tables and chairs to sit, or
Hmm.
even the infrastructure, say laptops
Right.
and everything, right? All of that is taken care of. So they've got a lot of time in advance, basically.
Okay.
All right. So with a very large operational runway, your financial cycle, your monthly financial cycle need not be too heavy in that sense.
Right.
You don't have to really generate too much of revenue.
Hmm.
The focus for these type of companies will be more on innovation, more on bringing up products that actually solve problems in that way. On the flip side, you've also got bootstrap companies. So the company that I run is a bootstrap organization. So I basically started, my investment was 55,000 rupees for my laptop,
Oh.
yeah,
Okay.
and good internet connection. That's where we started.
Yeah.
And so we built our financial cycles very strongly first, because we did not have operational runway. We did not have a funding that would take us from year one to year two.
Right.
All right. So with focus on building a very strong financial cycle in this particular unstable market, the idea is to make the financial cycle as short as possible.
Right.
So we work with our clients and ask them, say, would you mind, doing the billing on a net 30 perspective? All right, because
Right.
that payment period changes from company to company.
Yeah.
With larger organizations like Siemens and say Adobe and all of them,
Yeah.
right, they've got a 90-day payment cycle. which is not necessarily something that I would want to focus on
Right.
right now. Yeah, I want to really build a very robust short financial cycle. So we keep getting paid on a monthly basis so that
Okay.
salaries can be dispersed, licenses can be
Yeah.
bought again.
Your cash flow will be good.
Yeah, cash flow is very good,
Yeah.
which will then be further bifurcated into a part of the fund going into a larger operational runway.
Got it.
Yeah, so that's how I think you should do it in a market this way. But yeah, if the markets are really good, then you can probably adjust your financial cycle and operational runway in a way where it's
Okay,
better.
so mainly focus on the finance in terms of
Yeah,
uncertainty.
yeah, because that's the blood for any
Right.
organization, right?
Okay. What are the 3 key areas that you focus on when making any strategic decisions?
Okay. So this also depends in terms of what type of economy I'm sitting in.
Right.
In this type of economy, where since the nature of the business that we do is people oriented,
Right.
specifically with recruitment, employers are in a pessimistic state of mind.
Okay.
Yeah, because there's too much instability out there in the
Right.
in the world.
Yeah.
You have the US economy really going down into the dips right now, and we have a Indo-Pak pseudo war going on right now. Yeah, so employers will not be spending a lot. Again, this goes back to the operational runway principle. They don't want to spend too much right now, which might impact their operational runway. They will need to have funds for say a 6-month or an 8-month period. All right. So with that in place, work that comes to us isn't that great right now. Yeah. So I would look at this type of situation, saying what type of economy are we serving in, and then in terms of decisions, again, I'm going to look at short-term implications.
Okay.
I'm really going to do a lot of background research or a lot of depth into what decisions that we make. And the third part is I'm always worried about the brand that we carry.
Yeah.
The say that the way that we talk to people, the way that we connect with people.
Right.
That's a long-term
Correct. Yeah.
aspect which we can't lose. So these are the 3 things that I would keep in mind before making any decision. And I'll understand what is the level of impact, who all are going to be impacted. Right. Is the change that comes out of the decision very drastic, or does it serve the purpose?
Yeah, I think aligning with people's perspectives, it aligns with your feelings.
People's perspective, yes, but again, I don't want to rock the boat too much.
Yeah.
So that's the thing.
Okay. What personal values have guided your decisions as an entrepreneur?
Personal values, this is going to be a funny one for you.
Okay.
So I like cycling.
Yeah.
All right.
Same.
Cycling is a sport where you can do it at any age. It doesn't matter if you're fat or you're thin.
Right.
Weight only matters when you're climbing up a hill.
Yeah.
Gravity, you can't work against gravity. But one of the fundamental pillars for long distance cycling or racing or anything is endurance.
Yeah.
And this endurance isn't built overnight. It is built by consistently putting in that effort, putting in that 1 hour a day or 2 hours a day, whatever you've got with, and that compounds over time.
Right.
So this is something that I've been doing for about 10 years now.
Okay.
And when I translated this behavior into my own business, it really worked out well, because it's not, again, every day is not a Sunday. I'm not going to win every single account, nor am I going to fill every single role that I'm recruiting for. So with this principle backing me up, the idea is to stay consistent, put in that effort. Doesn't matter if it returns today, but I know that it's going to return, say, in year 2 or year 3.
So a lot of determination and persistence.
Yeah. Persistence, and you'll also have to kind of have you've seen race horses, right?
Yeah.
They kind of have tunnel vision.
Yeah, the focus.
Yeah, they just shut off everything. So you will have to shut the rest of the world away.
All right.
And it goes to certain instances where your family will also start asking you, hey man, what's going on?
Right. Fair enough. Yeah. So what does innovation mean to you? Since you use like AI in terms of recruitment, what does it mean to you?
So AI in recruitment, again, so I'll take you back to when I was studying in school. So my batch was the first batch in school which was allowed to take a scientific calculator to our 10th exams.
Okay.
All right.
Right.
So before that, we used to manually calculate sine, tan, cos, and all of that. Okay. Where it will take at least one extra, say, 10 minutes for entire time. Yeah. But now I could get it in a keystroke. So that the time that we got back, that was insane. Yeah. So when you look at that particular calculator and educational institutions letting us take it to the exam halls, that was a drastic change that none of the previous generations have seen. All right. Similarly, when you look at office operations and everything, traditionally you look at accounts, right? Accounts that you had ledgers, where you manually write it down. So then you had Microsoft come up with Excel, which completely digitized the accounting department, and even we use a lot of Excel here.
Yeah.
So AI again is one of these inflection points. It's a tool that will help you get things done faster, but you need to have solid grounded principles, solid fundamentals. It's not a tool that I would suggest for doing the thinking for you.
Okay.
It can execute,
Yeah.
it can research, but the thought, the core principle, the core thought has to come from the person.
Yeah.
So if the part that I'm most scared of is, again, so I got so used to calculators.
Yeah.
I don't do my routine math anymore.
Fair enough.
All right. So in the same way, if people start using AI just to give them ideas and keep giving them ideas, I'm a little bit afraid that that innovation part that all of us carry, the creative part that innovates day and day, that might start dying out
Yeah,
very
they
fast.
become like robots almost,
Yeah,
without the
not
creativity.
robots, man. You'll just see that creative bit in you, in
Yeah.
me, keeps us going. Like, you're doing this video, I
Yeah.
haven't seen anybody your age do videos like this. Okay. Yeah? So it keeps you going, right? You got that drive to get things done. But if that drive isn't there, do you think your videos or the content that you put out will be authentic?
No, definitely not.
Yeah, so that's what I'm worried about.
Okay.
If the fundamentals are really strong, and you're just saving some time by using AI, then it's a wonderful way to work with AI.
Yeah.
But you shouldn't use AI as your core thought generator.
So don't always belong support on it.
Yeah.
Okay. In recent times, the involvement of AI in work has exponentially increased, as you said. Again, as you said with your calculator example, before we used to do it mentally, and in your 10th grade, you had to do it with the calculator.
Yeah.
After that, you lost touch with mental math. Again, so what do you think will be the implications of AI coming into work in terms of recruitment?
So with recruitment, all right, traditionally, when I started my career in recruitment, I worked under wonderful managers, all right, and I have seen my managers. This is, I'm talking pre-LinkedIn, pre-Naukri, pre-Monster times.
Okay.
All right, no digital presence at all.
Right.
And when we used to hire people, so I was working in a US staffing company, which primarily staffed for the Department of Defense. So we used to hire a lot of aeronautical engineers, thermal engineers that build ammunition, build flight systems, all of that. And we know for a fact that when you look at Google Maps, we just found the nearest bar from all of these workplaces.
Right.
Because that in America, it's a culture. You finish work, you go have a beer, and then you go back home. So what we did was we understood that this is where all the talent is available at a certain point in every day. And we started printing these beer cozies and started supplying it to all of these bars with our contact information there.
Okay.
So we got a lot of calls, coming in. We got a lot of people reaching out to us and CVs coming in, which was, the actual way that you're supposed to recruit pre-digitization. And post-digitization, what happened was with Naukri, Monster, and all the other job boards coming, the personal outreach, or every company had a way or a style that they did their outreach with. So that was completely lost. But you got access to a lot more people. So while you lost something, you gain a lot of things. With AI again, it's going to be the same type of inflection point where you get a lot of things, but what you will lose out is the personal connect. Like, I've seen a lot of these applications use AI to filter people with video resumes and everything. Again, it's not something that I would rely on.
Okay.
For the very basic fact that you're more comfortable in front of the camera than me. I can't stand in front of the camera.
Right.
Yeah, I can't put content out by myself.
Okay.
So if you're going to judge a person based on the video that they're submitting, you need to take in a lot of variables in check, which AI is not capable of doing right now. Even the agentic AI, I don't think they have the semantics programmed enough to capture all of these things. Yeah. So again, it goes back to my previous thing saying you can't use AI to filter people or filter based on what the AI thinks. Rather, you do the thinking. Yeah. You get the AI to execute it.
AI right now, it's just in the training process. It's right now learning. Yeah. Okay. It's certain that there would have been challenges and setbacks in your journey as an entrepreneur. Is there any specific one that you would like to share?
Okay. So we started as a software company. We built a CRM with an ATS specifically for recruitment.
Okay.
And it was me and a co-founder. Unfortunately, the co-founder could not. We weren't able to raise funds.
Oh.
Yeah. So we were just bootstrapping it, putting our own cash in, So me and my co-founder had enough mutual funds and everything saved. So we just started breaking those funds and putting it in. But yeah, again, everybody's got their own priorities in life, no?
Yeah.
And the work was also really heavy. It was just the two of us.
Okay.
I learned a lot of coding by myself, and we were spending around 18, 19 hours on a daily basis.
Yeah.
But yeah, so unfortunately, it didn't kick off. We
Okay.
couldn't raise funds, and we just shelved that project. And then we had to pivot.
Right.
Yeah, and that's when my co-founder went back to work. He's a solutions architect, develops for a living. So he's gone back to work, and so the company had to pivot. While we built all the logic, all the systems that go in place to run a very efficient recruitment team or a staffing company,
Yeah.
we just copied that logic, implemented it here,
Okay.
and today it's working. So we follow the same logic as what we built
That's
the
nice.
SaaS for. So that's a very big pivot that we did.
Yeah.
It was tough for the first 7-8 months. We didn't have too much of cash flow. But then yeah, it started compounding. We started seeing 300% increase in cash flow month on month.
Okay.
So that was pretty significant for us.
Yeah, that's actually good. That's
Yeah.
very interesting. Like from failure to success.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
good. Okay. As a startup, how do you attract people and retain them?
Okay. So again, I'm gonna give you a bifurcation here. So it's not just about a startup or a larger organization. When you look at the organization as a collective, only if the collective performs really well will the earning capacity of every organization increase.
Right.
Which then reflects into salaries, bonuses, the infrastructure again. Like if you're working on with an HP system, you might get a MacBook. Yeah, it's as simple as that.
Correct.
All right. So when you look at the collective of people or employees in an organization, unless everybody carries their carries their weight in revenue generation, or we call it seat cost.
Okay.
It's basically seat cost into say a 7 or 8, depending on what type of economy you're in. Unless those numbers are met, then we're obviously in the low side. So keeping that as a fundamental, again, startups need people who can take action, who are more decisive, who are more aggressive. Yeah, this type of talent will not work in a corporate environment unless they really know how to balance their act.
Right.
All right. So that's one of the key foundations that I use specifically when I'm looking for people. And I've also noticed that we have had people from the industry before.
Okay.
Experienced professionals, but they come with a lot of baggage. It's a very hard process for them
Right.
to unlearn and then relearn,
Right.
because the same system might not work here. And we operate in such a way that we work with around say 15 other organizations, again geographically separated. We have some in India, we have some clients in Australia, some clients in Poland. Yeah, so you look at the way that those countries have culturally grown. They have different ways of operations, different ways of managing people. So we really need to be in a space and in a mindset where you understand that there are so many variables in play, but at the end of the day, you have to drive that role to closure. Right. So there's a lot of aggressiveness comes in, a lot of research, a lot of sales, and we also market ourselves really well.
Yeah.
So I'm going to look at people who embody these traits first. All right. In terms of the way that we attract talent, I do a lot of programs for colleges like MCC, WCC, and all. So I do have a very small organic following that keep asking me for internships and work.
Yeah.
So I take in a lot of interns, and then whoever converts as a full timer.
Okay.
So we haven't actively built our own presence or branding yet, and that's one of the biggest gaps I wanna.
Yeah, that's where I wanted to come in, because big businesses, they usually have that brand reputation. Like everyone dreams of working in Google, Amazon. As a startup, you won't have that immediately.
But then again, it's no different, no, in this economy. People in Google get laid off as well.
Okay, fair enough.
So what this economy is basically done is it's given all of us an equal slate to work on. Yeah. So I think at the end of the day, it boils down to what type of manager you're working with. Is the team conducive enough? Yeah. If everybody, so when you look at older the Spanish conquest and all, more people aligned to the cause, the more successful the cause. Okay. All right. It's as simple as that. Yeah. So the more people you have aligned towards a certain outcome, an organizational outcome, the more successful the organization. A lot of teamwork goes in. Yeah. It is the team at the end of the day.
Okay. How do you manage relationships with people who challenge your vision?
Okay, so what do you mean by challenge management? Is it within the
Challenge
organization, outside
it
the
can be within
organization?
the organization. Like
Mhm.
sometimes there may be disagreements between the
Mhm.
employer and employee, or
Okay,
even with a manager and another
all
manager.
right, all right, all right. So I don't really, I mean, at least here, no, people have a very open, uh, it's a very open floor. Like you see,
Okay.
my desk is there, the other people sit
Right.
work there, so it's pretty open for us. Yeah, challenging vision is something that I asked them to come up with.
Okay.
Yeah, because when they challenge my vision, or
Yeah.
when they challenge my say a state of process,
Hmm.
that means that's when they've started innovating or thinking about something.
Right.
Yeah, and I welcome that any day.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want somebody just to take orders, at least like again for a
Right.
startup. No, I want them to drive their own process, drive their own excellence, be very self-governed at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So at least in our organization, when people question us, we basically break it down into a lot of logic.
Okay.
So we back our entire philosophy on a lot of psychology. So I majored in psychology in XLRI.
Okay.
So there's a lot of theory that I
Got it.
brought into the way that our processes are shaped.
Right.
All right. So when my employees understand the basics or the fundamentals of that SOP, build on top of that, come and ask me, hey John, why don't we do this instead? I'm going to ask them the first thing, how do you want to do it? What do you want to do? How do you replicate it in such a way that everybody else does it? And what is the efficacy of the change that
So
you're trying
basically
to
go
build?
into the systems and the procedures of how
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
going to
yeah.
work.
It has to work.
Got it.
Without systems and procedures, without a formal SOP,
Yeah.
you're just leaving too many things to variables. It'll be a
Right.
waste of time. You'll start working in very small circles, and it doesn't go anywhere.
Got it. Okay. Who is an ideal leader, or what traits should a leader possess?
Okay, this is a tricky question. So
Just go into the characteristics and personality.
yeah, so I think so I have a dog called Guntu. I think he's the most ideal leader every
Okay.
thing. But then again, from a professional context, um, I'm probably going to say a leader is somebody who understands the macroeconomics and microeconomics of the company,
Yeah.
looks at an external perspective and the internal perspective, because it's at the end of the day, it's a very fine balancing act.
Yeah.
And if you have too many variables at play, like right now there's a lot of international economics at play right now.
Yeah.
If you have too many variables at play, then there's going to be a threat to the organization at the end of the day. So a leader should technically identify all of this and have a very strong second in line or a very strong team. All right, I would say the entire team has to be strong themselves so that they get the execution bit done. All right, and the leader has to focus on the long-term aspects and running of the organization. These are the ideal traits that I would think of. So if you want to give me an example, so when I was working in my first job, I was reporting to a person called Scott in America. So he was like your typical textbook, army general type of person.
Okay.
He will just plow right in.
Right.
So Scott and I, we were part of the team in that company that I was working in, which only focuses on accounts, client accounts that are in a very bad shape.
Okay.
I didn't know this when I joined there. I didn't know when they put me in the team saying I'm going to handle the toughest of accounts. I thought that's the normal way that you work. And so Scott and I used to really pair up really well. He took the entire client management bit, took the entire relationship building bit to a different level, and I backed him up by giving him a solid pipeline of people.
Okay.
And these are very tough to find talent, very hard to find talent, because in the department, I mean in the defense sector, people have security clearances.
Okay.
And you have different levels of clearances for different people.
Yeah.
So you need to find a software engineer with a top secret level clearance.
Okay.
We are only looking at 10 people in the entire East Coast.
Okay. Damn, that's
so then the identification part is really easy.
Yeah.
You don't have to look for too many people. The place where it matters the most is how do you converse with the person, how do you sell the company that you're hiring for, how do you position the job, and get them to buy on. It has to be a two-way road. Right. You can't just hard sell the role or hard sell the company and expect people to buy into it.
Okay, so just like a person sells themselves in an interview, even the company will have to do it.
Yeah, you have to position them. It doesn't because when you position and say, let's say for example, you really like an employer, the employer positions themselves to you. You position yourself to the employer.
It has to be a mutual connection.
Yeah, your interests are very aligned, very well aligned.
Got it. Okay. To what extent do you agree with the social media perspective of being in a senior management role?
Senior management role in the sense?
you know how those social media guys, there are like two types. One says that the CEOs, they deserve what they get because they have worked hard. At a point, they have also been the employees. They had to work, climb the corporate ladder all the way up. And then there's the other people who say that CEOs are bad. They just give orders. They are just bossy. They are mean. They are arrogant.
Okay.
So where does your perspective come in this?
Okay. So you follow sports and all, no?
To an extent, not all sports.
Okay. So a big part of sports teams, the way sports teams are built, CSK or Madrid football teams, whatever, there's a lot of investment that goes into sports psychology.
Okay.
Again, the sports psychologist looks at the team as a collective. And what do the team as a collective bring to the table, which will give them a competitive advantage over the others.
Right.
All right. So in that aspect, when you look at the aggressive CEOs, you'll kind of have to understand the dynamics of the market that they're operating in first.
Okay.
They're not aggressive just because they want to be aggressive.
Right.
They're aggressive because something is, pointing them in that direction, saying you got to be really hard with people or whatever. So when you understand the dynamics of the of that industry, like for example, you look at the ship salvaging sector. Have you probably do some research once you
Okay.
So ships post 30 years are not supposed to run in water.
Okay.
So you'll have to take it to a salvage yard and completely break it down.
Right. Yeah.
And then you reuse parts, and then the scrap and all gets recast into other things, like even our utensils and all. No,
Right. Yeah.
that's part of ships there.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's how the metal is reused. But when you look at that industry works on purely contractual temporary labor.
Yeah.
There's only a certain season that you can break down ships.
Right. Yeah.
So when you look at the levers in that industry, do you think a person sitting in a company like CTS would be able to manage those people?
Okay. Yeah.
So you'll have to understand what the underlying levers are, which will then tell you why this person is behaving the way they are. So that's one side of things. And again, CEOs are like the tons of pressure. You can't expect them to always be politically correct every time. And when you look at the biological side of things, like even a cup of coffee will impact the way that you think.
Right. Yeah.
So it kind of depends on their diet, what proteins or what the vitamins they're taking, which will then dictate the behavior a bit. But with the social media part, I still think social media, paints or portrays people in the way that the social media influencer wants, not the leaders themselves. And there's also a lot of misinformation that keeps spreading. Like you have seen so many reels about work-life balance and what do you call not employers not being faithful and all of that, right? It's just one side of the story, or it's just a part of the story that they projected. Like because when I started, work-life balance is something where I invested about 14-15 hours on a daily basis when I was a fresher, because I didn't know what to do.
Right.
Because so today, if I had to do the same work that I was doing 15 years back, I'll probably finish it in 2 hours.
Okay.
Because I've got the expertise.
Yeah.
I don't have the expertise when I start up as a fresher.
Right.
So my only goal as a fresher is to learn the trade as fast as possible. And I can only learn the trade by practicing it, practicing failing, and completing that loop and learning a lot of things on top. Yeah. And when you look at what social media projects today, you only have to work for 8 hours or 9 hours. That's not the case. It depends on where you are in your career. And it just sends a lot of misinformation out and starts inducing your subconscious saying, I should not trust an employer, I should not work more than 8 hours or 9 hours. So, and again, when you look at the organization as a collective, if everybody signs off and doesn't finish off the deliverables that they're responsible for, your financial cycle is impacted. Cash flow is impacted.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. I really don't believe in social media influencers. And but it's a good thing that you follow it. I think it's more tougher for your generation. No, you guys are always on social media.
That's an issue.
And even those guys like Andrew Tate and all the type of nonsense that they're putting out, it's really not helping anybody at the end of the day.
Right.
So that's the thing.
So basically, a leader sometimes depends on whether they are being autocratic or democratic. It may depend on the people and their own experiences.
Yeah.
Okay. Right.
So you have to look at the surrounding levers or the surrounding factors that induce a person to behave in a certain way.
All right. Okay. Thank you, John. I think the interview has been very insightful and
Hey,
informative.
thank you, man. Thank you for doing
Yeah.
this.